Thanks for inviting me to come and talk today. I'm just going to give you a brief update on where we're at with ACP and Hlb. Keeping in mind that that's not the only thing that we do in the Citrus Pest and Disease Prevention Division. We are looking for many different pests and diseases in California of citrus, including citrus canker, citrus black spot, leprosis, variegated chlorosis, many different diseases, and some other insect pests as well. All right, so just to start, I always like to show a map of citrus in California. So most of you know we have citrus in many different regions of the state. Our program works throughout the state. We do a lot of work, most of our work on residential properties. But one of the things that we have done is we're focusing our staffing and our offices in areas where citrus is being produced in California. So why is citrus important? Most of you know the answer to this. We are a very big industry in California, over $3.4 billion in sales, many jobs. There's many of you that grow citrus from small farms to large farms. I think the number that we have for citrus acres in production is probably a little bit higher now than it should be, somewhere around 265,000 acres-ish. This is a little bit of an older slide. Apologies for that. So the Citrus Division, in 2018, before we became a division, we did some strategic planning. And during that strategic planning, that's when it was identified that we needed dedicated resources for the citrus industry to protect you all from invasive insects and diseases. And during that strategic priority building, we came up with 5 priorities. And these are really focused on ACP and Hlb, but like I said, that's just a portion of the work that we're doing. Our first priority is to detect and eradicate Hlb positive trees. Our second is to control the movement of psyllids around the state through regulation, so quarantine enforcement. The third is to suppress ACP populations. So in areas of the state that's not generally infested, we are doing treatments around ACP detections. Number 4 is to improve data technology analysis and sharing. And I think we've made really great strides with that, working with our partners at Citrus Research Board, the universities, and USDA. And our 5th priority is outreach and collaboration. Again, something that we've done, I think, a really good job at and partnered with many of the other entities here in the state to continue to amplify our message and coordinate our message to get those messages out, not only to homeowners, but to the growers as well. So like I said, this map shows our districts. So when we became a division, we really thought, we need to have staff in priority areas. So we have 3 districts. We have the Southern, the Central, and the Northern District. We have 11 field offices. Many of our offices right now are in the Southern District because that's where we're finding Hlb and that's where a lot of our work is happening. But we did form a new office in Ventura. So that's something that we did in becoming a new division. We saw that there was a need for staffing in that Ventura, Santa Barbara area. And we just took occupancy of our office there. So we are building our staff in Ventura right now. We have 168 dedicated staff in our division. In addition to that, we have a fluctuating amount of seasonal staff that we bring on to help with special projects. And last year we did 53 public meetings. Those were all done virtually because of COVID, right? So COVID has been very difficult on all of you. It's been difficult on us as well. But we do have some learnings from COVID that is helping us become more efficient. One of those is going to the public meetings virtually rather than in person. We are able to reach a larger area. We're able to cut down on staff time and expenses. So that's an unfortunate event with dealing with COVID has given us a positive outcome. So again, the focus that we have right now in our division is ACP and Hlb. Well, what is ACP? ACP is an insect pest. By itself, not that big of a deal. The fact that it can vector Hlb is really the main issue at hand for us. And for us, the best way to protect and prevent that spread of HLB is to control the ACP populations. And the disease, HLB, why is that an issue? Well, of course, it's a deadly citrus disease. Once a tree is infected, there's no cure, it's not going to come back. And confounding issues are that there's a latency period for symptoms to show up. And in fact, unfortunately in California, we are seeing that in some instances we're not even seeing symptomology. We're able to detect the disease on asymptomatic trees. So, I mean, that's a good thing, because that means we're getting that inoculum out, but because of the environment, different factors, it's possible that it's not impacting trees the same way it does in other parts of the state, of the US. So what do we do in our division? What are our program activities? We do trapping and visual survey. So we're trapping for ACP, we're looking for ACP, we're looking for symptoms of the disease. We do residential treatments, so if we find ACP in an area that's not generally infested, or if we find HLB in an area, we do an ACP treatment to knock down the psyllids. We also have invested a lot of time and effort in biocontrol. We have 2 facilities that are working on biocontrol for us in California. We establish and enforce quarantines, and we conduct outreach. Again, kind of aligning with those 5 priorities that I talked about earlier. So for trapping, we do detection trapping throughout the state. It's in residential areas, 5 to 16 traps per square mile. It really depends on proximity to commercial citrus. So in counties and areas where we have commercial citrus, we're going to use 16 traps per square mile. In areas where it's just mostly residential, we'll go to the 5 traps per square mile. In many of those areas, those traps are taken care of by our county ag commissioners under contract with us, and that's very helpful because we don't have the staff on our team to get to all the areas of the state that we're trapping. Those traps are serviced monthly. We also do delimitation trapping. So if we find ACP in an area, again, that's not generally infested, so not in Southern California, but in the Valley or Northern California or along the Central Coast, we put out 50 traps per square mile and a 4 square mile radius around the detection site. Those traps are serviced weekly for the first month, then we go to monthly for a year. If we don't find any additional psyllids in that delimitation area, those traps are pulled out and we go back to the normal detection trapping array. So this slide is going to show over time how ACP have been detected in California. It started in San Diego and Imperial in 2008. And then we saw this expansion rather quickly throughout the state. Every year, the new year is the red, and then the other old years go to gray. In 2012, we had our first detections in the Valley. It was in Tulare County. And you can see that we were establishing quarantines on a 5 square mile radius around a detection site. Some counties opted to go full county just to help with growers so they could move fruit. And you can see that there was a distinct pattern of detections along transportation corridors. In 2017, we switched to the ACP regional quarantine zones, again, to facilitate movement within a zone, so the growers weren't having to do onerous ACP treatments to move within their own zone. It went to just, if you're moving anywhere, you have to tarp. If you're moving out of your quarantine zone, then you have to do either field cleaning or pre-harvest spray. So the other thing that we do is we do HLB risk survey. We partnered with Dr. Tim Gottwald at USDA ARS, and he has developed a risk survey model. And that model every year, now Dr. Gottwald has retired, but some folks that worked with him, Dr. Wikilo and Dr. Drew Pensky, they continue to give us these risk, what we call STRs, section township range. So they divide up the whole state by these STRs, and they tell us based on different things like transportation corridors, where ACP and HLB have been detected, travel census data, all these different factors, where we should be looking for HLB. As you can see, I think this is the pointer. Well, where to point, there's many screens. In 2011, 2020, 2011, we haven't collected that many HLB samples. So probably much like most of you, the challenge of COVID, whether that's having access to homeowners' properties because they're concerned about exposure to COVID, protecting our own staff from exposure to COVID, and some difficulties in recruiting the seasonal staff that really help with this survey, have reduced the number of samples that we've collected the last couple of years. So we are transitioning back to some pre-COVID techniques. We're actually knocking on doors and talking to folks and asking for access to backyards. So we will and do anticipate our sample numbers to go up. So where have we found HLB positive trees and psyllids that are carrying the bacteria? We found those in LA, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and most recently in San Diego in the city of Oceanside. We're up to just over 2,500 positive trees as of, I think, October 1. The majority of those trees have been detected in Orange County. When we detect an HLB positive tree, we establish a treatment area around that and a delimitation area around that of 250 meters. We survey every single tree in that 250 meter area. We treat every single tree in that 250 meter area. Any psyllids that we find, we collect those and send them to the CRB lab for analysis. They're doing PCR analysis on the psyllids, just like we're doing on the plant material. And we rogue out positive trees. So when a tree is detected and it's positive, one of the first things we do is we get out there with homeowner consent, we treat those trees, and we get them pulled out. We want to make sure that we're removing that source of inoculum. Again, for ACP, we do voluntary treatments. We have really good response, usually with residents allowing us to get in there and treat. If it is in the non-generally infested area, so like if we had a detection here in Tulare County and it was on a residential property and there was no commercial citrus around, it was one psyllid, we would do a 50-meter treatment area. So basically find sites and adjacents. If we had one or more psyllid, if we had more than one psyllid, or if it was near commercial citrus, it would be a 400-meter treatment area. We also do area-wide treatments in Southern California around commercial groves, where those commercial groves have worked together and achieved a 90% treatment. So 90% of the acreage has been treated within a 2 to 3 week time window. We do generally 2 applications a year in area-wide. In some areas, like Imperial County, where it gets too hot during the summer and fall, we're doing 1 treatment. We also do voluntary treatments for an ACP that's positive for CLAS. So in Southern California, if we collect a psyllid, it's positive for the bacteria, we do a voluntary treatment around of 250 meters around that. If we find HLB positive trees, it's mandatory. So we will seek a warrant to compel someone who refuses treatment in an HLB positive tree environment. One of the things that we do anytime we move into a new area of the state is we do some environmental consultation. Well, we do an environmental consultation before we do any type of treatment activity anywhere. But we do some environmental monitoring with DPR when we move into new areas. It's good information if anybody's interested and they want to know what impacts we're having on the environment. We're looking at tank mix. We're looking at air, water, and leaf tissue samples whenever we're going into a new area. And again, that's done under contract with DPR. Pardon me, we're not doing that monitoring ourselves. As I mentioned, we do biocontrol. We are mass producing a parasitic wasp called tamarix radiata. We have 2 facilities, one at Mount Rubidoux in Riverside County and one at Cal Poly Pomona in LA County. To date, we've produced over 21 million wasps, and some of those wasps do come from the Citrus Research Board project, and some come from the UC. And we've released those in 14 counties of California. We've also provided tamarixia to Mexico and Arizona. Right now, our focus for our tamarixia releases are around HLB positive areas, along transportation corridors, and we've been doing releases here in the valley where we have multiple detections, so Kern County, also in Santa Clara County where we've had some multiple detections. So as I talked about, we establish quarantines and enforce quarantines, again partnering with our county ag commissioners. We're monitoring nurseries, bulk citrus production, green waste facilities, yard maintenance, and farmers markets. We have established, like I said, a quarantine zone for ACP. There is a zone for bulk citrus production, ACP zones, and also for nursery production. And so the multicolored map is for bulk citrus. So if you're a producer, you know what zone you're in, and that gives you some freedom to move without, like I said, without field cleaning or treatment within your zone. If you're moving out of your zone, in addition to tarping, you would have to do one of those mitigation measures. The map that has the lighter colors, that's for nursery production. It's based on risk. So if you're in the yellow zone, that's the higher risk zone. Any outdoor grown nursery stock has to stay in that yellow zone. It cannot move into the purple or the white zone. Purple is medium risk, that's the valley, central coast. Outdoor grown citrus can move into the yellow zone and within the purple zone, but not into the low risk zone of the white area of the state. So it's all based on risk. Here's our current HLB quarantine zone. It includes parts of LA, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and now San Diego. The green dots in that quarantine zone show our treatment areas that are mandatory for an Hlb positive tree. And you'll see some purple dots, that's the non-mandatory treatment areas for ACP that's positive for CLAS. Outreach, again, we work with industry, homeowner, and elected officials. We've been partnering with a team called Nuffer Smith Tucker. They do a great job. They also work with Citrus Mutual and Citrus Research Board, the university. Again, trying to elevate all of our messaging and coordinate all of our messaging so we have really a single, very strong voice for industry. So for those of you, growers here, especially in the valley, how can you help stop the spread? Make sure that trees are being inspected regularly for ACP and for any symptoms of HLB. Follow best practices from the UC for ACP management, and participate in area-wide management for Southern California. And some of you have probably been called upon to participate in what we call coordinated treatments. We have seen in the Central Valley those coordinated treatments be very, very successful. So in areas like Kern County, where we've seen a blow up of ACP, working with the grower liaison, Judy Zaninovich, she has worked with growers in Kern County, gotten these coordinated treatments on, and we've seen a very drastic reduction in detections. Also, if you see ACP or if you see symptoms, reach out. Reach out to either your county AgCom, to our exotic pest hotline, visit the Citrus Insider. That is a website that our outreach team has put together specifically for growers. It's an industry-facing website. Or we do have a new website at CDFA, and that's our cdfa.ca.gov/citrus, where we have some good information as well. And yeah, that's what I've got for you guys. Questions? Yes.
What's the major difference, or can you touch on the difference between HLB and CLAS?
Okay, so CLAS is Candidiasis Liberibacter asiaticus CLAS. That's the bacteria that is the causal agent of the disease Wong Bane, or HLB. There was another question back here.
How effective is the tamarix radiata at knocking down the population?
So I wish Dr. Morgan was here, and he's our specialist when it comes to biocontrol and tamarixia. I think the hope when we first started working on biocontrol is that we would get about a 30% knockdown with tamarixia radiata. What they're seeing is in areas where there's good ant control, they can see upwards of 80% control in an area. So a lot of the outreach efforts regarding tamarixia radiata and the use of biocontrol agents is do good ant control. So for residential properties or commercial properties, where there's good ant control, we'll see better tamarixia control rates. Unfortunately, like with aphids, the ants will farm and protect the ACP nymphs. Any more questions? Yep.
Are there any other biocontrols you're considering?
So for us, with our production, we're focusing on Tamarix radiata, but there are other predators that are being used by some, green lacewing, I think they're seraphid flies. So yeah, other like ladybug beetles, different, and one of the things that they're seeing is as ACP have become established, native predators are seeing them now as a food source. So I think some growers are doing some work in augmenting their native predators. But for us, we're focusing on tamarixia. We were doing another parasitic wasp called Diphlorincertus algarensis. It was just more difficult to rear, and we weren't seeing good control numbers with